이제 wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up.
One of the few animated shows that has actually made you physically cry is back. Link Click Season 2 is out, and I'm here to yell at you to watch it, because if you're anything like myself, then you may be delaying watching something you've been looking forward to for in real life reasons, or just your own general laziness or apathy to starting a new season of anything. Yes, that was me as well, but guess what happened to me when I watched the first episode of Season 2? I binged the next episode, and then the next one immediately afterwards, because guess what? The show is amazing, and its cliffhangers, just like Season 1, are fucking crazy. And so yes, I watched the first 3 episodes, one after another. Like a binge watching, typical anime girly, that was me. I just kept clicking and clicking, cause how else can I deal with these cliffhangers? Not me. Surely not me. Couldn't be me. So whether you wait until the entire season is over to binge watch it, or this is a reminder just to start binging because you don't want to miss out on the week by week everyone going crazy online and reacting to each episode and their theories, do it either way, whichever works best for you. The main point is that I'm here to yell at you to start watching this season 2 because it is totally worth it. And for anyone who wants a refresher from last season, I will get into that here. So the last season ended on our protagonist came up with a plan to corner the person who had kidnapped their friend, and basically went in and out of photos. I'm not going to go into the details of how exactly they corner the culprit, but they corner him, he goes in and out of photos, beats him up, and then it is revealed, the big reveal happens later, I believe, when he's being questioned, and Chen goes into the past through the photo to stop Emma at the same time, I believe, and basically what happens is they end up being possessed. I don't know if it's exactly the same time or if it's different, because I doubt that, I don't know if they could possess 2 people at once, but it could have been just occurring out of order. But basically the attacker ends up offing themselves by putting their handcuffs against their neck, and then they end up dying, and then they're possessed while it's happening. It's revealed that the person responsible was not the guy that we thought it was. Someone is controlling the body of a person, and then Emma, just as she's about to listen to our protagonist and not jump off the bridge, and he basically talks her off the edge, but ends up turning around and jumping off anyways because she is possessed, and thus it's not even her decision. And then like we see the moment before when she's no longer possessed and she realizes like she didn't even make that decision and she just dies, which was heartbreaking. And then what happens is Chen goes back into the present time out of the photo, and it turns out that Lu Guan has been stabbed by the landlady, who is also like the person who helps them out with their business, her friend for a long time, for like childhood he's known her, and she like has basically stabbed Lu Guan. And the person, the attacker, says that he has cheated in the game and they need to reset their game. The person responsible who is possessing kind of just sees this entire situation as a little game between them and is not taking the lives that they are basically getting rid of very seriously. Like they view this as a little game for them to play. We don't really understand their motivations as of yet, but that is all we've gotten about this supposed villain from the end of season 1. The season ends on a cliffhanger where basically it is a showdown between Chen and this mysterious person who has possessed these people and ruined many people's lives, all for a reason we don't know as of yet. We don't know their motivations. It ends on an extreme cliffhanger. We don't know if Lu Guan's alive or dead. We don't know what is going on, and that is where we are left for the end of season 1. And this season has new characters, a new antagonist maybe. We aren't sure about that one yet. And of course, continues on the crazy season 1 cliffhanger of Lu Guan bleeding to death on the couch. So if you want to know what happens, click out of this video and go watch a new season to find out if he's alive, because that was the craziest cliffhanger ever. Like that was such a wild cliffhanger that immediately wanted you to know what happens next. And the fact that season 2 has come around and maybe people have forgotten its existence, or they just haven't been keeping tabs on Link Click so they didn't know it was coming out, I'm here to yell at you. It has already come out and you should totally watch it just to get back into the swing of the Link Click universe and enjoy the crazy time related shenanigans that they get up to. The Link Click season 1 1 was awesome. Trust your gut and just watch season 2. If that somehow doesn't convince you, these are some non-spoiler reasons to watch season 2. Number 1, a catchy as hell opening with god tier animation skills and possibly some symbolism for what might happen this season. I'm assuming. Even if it isn't symbolism, it looks freaking amazing. Number 2, we're probably going to be getting into ability focused specifics this season, and I'm hoping this might mean we'll finally figure out the exact moment the protagonists discover the abilities, because it's kind of just weird that like they conveniently both have like photo related abilities and it just happened to meet that one time. Like, when was the first time that they accidentally like went in a photo and knew when they like slapped hands that they could go into photos? Like, when was their discovery and how did it happen exactly? That's what I'm hoping at this point like the season dives into, because I do think the discovery of abilities and like that awkward beginning phase is very intriguing to me, and I hope they get into it. They might just go into more ability limits or like Luguan talking about the specifics of it, and that's about it they might go into, but I do hope we get a flashback. Like, the young versions of our protagonists just struggling to figure out their abilities. Like, I would love to see that. Number 3, mystery and basically use your brain to guess what might happening next moments. As usual in like Click, there's a lot of like mysterious elements where you have to guess where the story will be going, and if you do enjoy like guessing what could possibly be happening next, this is a great show for you. Number 4, cliffhangers. This is a pro and a con at the same time, honestly, because too many repetitive cliffhangers can bother me, but as long as they are different in how they're executed, I'm usually good. But if they become pretty much like the same twist over and over, I will probably get annoyed. Number 5, impressive martial arts. I'm not gonna say anything else because I don't want to spoil, but martial arts look impressive in this season. Number 6, heart-tugging scenes. Nothing episode 5 level as of yet, but judging from how this season started, it might be getting there pretty quickly, and maybe episode 5, maybe it'll be consistently the cry episode. Who knows? But I'm assuming that we're gonna be getting a tearjerker at some point. It hasn't hit me yet, but there has definitely been tear-jerking scenes to a degree. Now, going into this season, I had a very vague theory or guesses to the villain's motivations or backstory based on what we learned from the first season. Due to how obsessive the villain was of our protagonist, especially the fact that they see our protagonist as a challenger who has an ability similar to theirs, I thought it was possible they've been alone and searching for someone like our protagonist pair, and now they've finally found them. Now that they found our lead characters and know they have an ability, they'll want to ruin their lives to gain their attention or perhaps play with them some more. My crack theory before the season 1 finale, or like before the last few episodes, was that the villain knew Luguan before and wanted revenge because Cheng Xiaoshi is his partner. Obviously this isn't possible because Luguan wasn't recognized in any way. I just thought it would have been cool if Luguan had some secret past. Another theory I had was that this ability user wasn't even human. Like, what if they're a supernatural being wreaking havoc on humans for their own amusement? So those were my main theories. I didn't have any guesses about Luguan's situation, like whether or not he would survive. I just hoped he was alive because I think he's too essential to the plot to be killed off yet. If they were going for hard-hitting tragedy, the two leads would both end up dead by the series end. So who knows what they'll do by the end of the series. Now onto what happened this season. The opening was crazy amazing. Oh my god. The animation, the song, the colors, everything was beautiful and took my breath away. I don't know if the song is as much as an earwig as the first opening, but I definitely think it conveys the feeling of the start of a season. The choice to rewind back into time where the animation reverses perfectly back to the beginning was amazing, iconic, breathtaking. Would love to see it a million times again, and it ties into the theme of time and how the main character often wants to go back in time to fix things, and playing it over and over again is almost like a recurring loop where he can be going through the same torment or struggles again and again, all just to figure out how to get the outcome they need or to find whatever information they need to solve the mystery that they are currently working on. Also, the choice to reverse the opening animation reminds me of JoJo opening 7 version 2 from part 4 of JoJo, where the original opening reverses and it ties into the ability of a character in the show. So it is similar to that JoJo opening choice of rewinding back the animation and it fitting perfectly, except for in this case for Link Click, it's less about a frame by frame going backwards in time where like it shows each pose in terms of JoJo did. did, where you could kind of see like the birds going backwards and it feels like an animation frame by frame image. In this case, it is literally like the animation just rewinds and it still works in reverse as it does in consecutive order, if that makes any sense. Like, it looks beautiful either way. For this season, the antagonist is interesting because they seem to want to somehow take his ability and they don't like him lying about anything. The antagonist definitely feels like the obsessive archetype where they want to know everything about whoever has caught their eye. The real question is, who put them up to this? What is their intentions? Is there a person behind them setting this up, or are they working independently for their own amusement? By the third episode, I think, of the season, this was answered. I wrote these notes down, I think, only after watching the first 2 episodes. So by episode 3, I believe these questions are answered, where the antagonist, or the supposed antagonist for the previous season, we thought they were working alone. It was up in the air whether they were working alone or not. And in this case, we now know that the lawyer of some sort, I can't remember if he was I think he's a defense lawyer, or was he I can't remember what type of lawyer he is. He works for the family that is basically under questioning by the police for the other character that was suspected but was actually possessed last season, though he was still a criminal because he like choked Emma like nearly to death. So that man was already a criminal. But basically they were trying to cover shit up. They don't even like their son, like, or at least the dad doesn't. He doesn't seem to care about his son that much, and he's like he's kind of glad he's dead, but he's like pretending he cares a lot. And basically he is the lawyer that is there to help, I guess, sweep everything under the rug and take care of things. But he was an ex-cop, like he used to work as a cop. So he is the one who is now suddenly the potential antagonist or mastermind behind all of this. We will see as the season goes on. First episode, Fake Out Death, got to me. I really thought this season was going to be about the main character, Cheng Xiaoshi, trying to go back in time to save Lu Guan and change the course of the past and possibly ruin a node that is not supposed to be changed. Like, I thought he would end up risking everything for Lu Guan and going back to the past and changing things, but they didn't go with that predictable story narrative and instead just did a death fake out sequence where Cheng Xiaoshi thinks that Lu Guan's dead, but he isn't. And when he does think he is dead, like, wasn't crying, but I was definitely feeling like my heart break into pieces, especially in the sequence where he remembered all the things Lu Guan said in the past to him, and it was showing all the past moments. If Lu Guan was dead and he went into the room to see his dead body and, I don't know, like tried to hold his hand or something, I think I might have actually began to cry. But because he wasn't at the point where like he approached like his supposed dead body, I wasn't at the stage of crying yet. Like, if he was there and he was like literally like sobbing over his body, I probably would have broken down crying because that would have gotten to me. But because it was like a fake out, that did not happen, so I did not end up tearing up. I feel like other fans probably were like crying a lot at that scene, but that was not me. I was just kind of feeling sad, but not at the tear levels yet. And also in the first episode, we're introduced to the supposed antagonist from last season's father before we knew he was possessed, who has invested or is involved with the metaverse. I remember like I think he was on the phone with someone, he was trying to invest in the metaverse. Oh, that was funny. And then the detective is puppeteered into offing himself, which is absolutely terrifying, which means the main guy is gonna have to probably go into the photo they indicated on a cell lock screen at some point, possibly. We'll see. These are my notes from episode to episode. Basically, that did happen. Predicted correctly that he would end up going into that photo on the lock screen to give her a bit of a sense of closure. Obviously, she's not gonna feel complete closure because she literally lost her fiance, I believe. I don't think they were actually married yet. They were supposed to be getting married, but he went back in time just so that he would propose in the past before he passed away. So there was a sense of closure, and at least that she knew how much he loved her, because it was clear that he loved her a lot. So I did predict that correctly in my notes because I'm reading off my notes. I wrote an update on my notes after episode 3. We are introduced to a new character, and Cheng Xiaoshi occupies the body of this very young child who may or may not be the supposed antagonist we saw that like stabbed Lu Guan last season, but they're acting completely differently. I'm using they them pronouns because we are not sure of their gender as of yet, so until that is 100% confirmed, I'm just gonna use they them. But the child, they are supposedly being manipulated by this lawyer man that I do not remember the name of, but he is I think our main antagonist. But they're acting completely differently than the previous antagonist that we saw possess the other character's body, and the clear difference is that this character is mute, like they aren't speaking at all, versus the antagonist from the last season that possessed, who clearly could speak, unless when they possess bodies, they are able to speak because they have the same abilities or like characteristics of that person's body. That is a possibility, but as we've seen with Cheng Xiaoshi for his ability, when he inhabits a body, the restrictions on that body is not the same. When he inhabited the body of a child, he still had his own strength and was able to beat up that woman, and when he inhabited the body of a person who had really bad eyesight, he still had his amazing eyesight and thus did not need his eyeglasses, like the eyeglasses that the person he possessed needed. So the question is there another character that we have not seen yet that does have ability to possess? And is it just like a second character? Are they the same person and then like they are not restricted in their ability like Cheng Xiaoshi is? Is this just a very weird plot hole that they wrote into the plot where like they didn't think this through, but why they would be able to talk there but not like elsewhere? Why is their like personality completely 180? Were they being forced to act a certain way by the lawyer, potential antagonist of a series? Because we don't really know if he's like truly an antagonist. Well, actually, he's not a potential antagonist anymore because he literally killed the other detective guy or puppeteered him into dying, and he totally set that up. So never mind. The lawyer, did he set up this poor kid into killing these people? The setup for this child, as I said before, their gender is not confirmed yet. So in the photograph and in the past in which Cheng Xiaoshi inhabits when they go into their body, they are treated as a girl and have, you know, like feminine like clothing on. They have really long pigtails, I believe, a pink dress, and then they're referred to like as she, her, like, as her daughter. But in the present day, they are a lot more androgynously dressed. So I don't know if the series is purposefully like not expressing their gender yet and we're trying to be like avoidant or like mysterious about it, just be like, oh, it's a reveal that they're not brother and sister and that she is simply just cut her hair and now she just appears this way. Or I'm crossing my fingers that this new character is trans, because that would be awesome like representation. But at the same time, I'm hoping they don't write this trans character, if they are potentially trans, like if it does turn out that he now goes by like he, him pronouns, or maybe they're like non-binary, like I'm hoping they don't write them in a way that villainizes them in any way, shape, or form, because I do not want that to happen. But from the setup, I think it's pretty obvious that they are like the same person. This is the same kid, unless they're gonna do like, oh, there's a secret twin somewhere that we just didn't see in the flashback. Like I don't think they'll do that. That'd be kind of cringy. I hope they don't do that, like where it's like you just never knew. That'd be kind of weird. It seems, at least to me, pretty obvious that they're the same, but like I don't know if we're just trying to do the whole we're purposefully trying to be mysterious and not, at least in terms of the English subs, because from my understanding the language is probably gender neutral, so like it wouldn't be revealing of their gender anyways. The only time that like obviously the language would indicate gender was when the doctor was like, oh, this is a boy. So I thought that could be a hint that like, oh, like this superstitious, like a superstitious doctor that doesn't really rely on actual like scientific practices, feels it out based off reading palms. They're not like a doctor, but like a superstitious person pretending to be a doctor, but the mom thinks he's a doctor. Anyways, he says that he has the pulse of a boy. Is this a hint that like this character is trans and that's why they did that? But like who knows what's happening? We're gonna see. I'm hoping that they do not villainize the character if they do turn out to be trans, because that'd be absolutely like terrible. We do not need more like representation of a trans character being like a terrible villain in a series for like literally no reason, and all other non-trans characters are like all heroes or protagonists or like main characters, and the trans character is the villain. I do not want to see that. I want a very wholesome or sympathetic representation of the character rather than something that'll villainize them. But from this setup, the fact that Lu Guan was hesitant to show the photo, the fact that he seemed almost protective of the photo, and like Cheng Xiaoshi is very empathetic and sympathetic when he inhabits the photo, I think they're likely going to be going to a sympathetic character route rather than villainizing the character. And the real question will become, if this kid has been taken, was later found out to have an ability, and has now started to be used for killing people, like is that the timeline? Like did this lawyer potentially meet this kid beforehand? Like what is the timeline? That's what we need to know. Was the lawyer assigned the case of a mother in the past? Like maybe that was his first case, and did he just like steal this kid? Like how did this happen? How did he end up finding out this kid has an ability and just started using it to off people? Like that is crazy. I don't know how this happened, but I would love to find out this timeline. How did the lawyer dude find the kid? My prediction is that he was assigned the case of a kid's mom's murder, since it's clear the mother was killed by someone and we just don't know who yet. It's probably the person who approached her at the end of episode 3. I think that possibly the lawyer was assigned the case and then maybe somehow has gotten custody of a kid, or is maybe like they're pretending to be like a foster family to the kid and they're like assigned temporarily, but have basically taken over the kid's life and has now forced the kid to be committing like crimes. I don't know what's happening. I think this kid is potentially being held hostage or something, and we're just struggling to figure out who did this to their mom, and they want answers. CLIFFHANGERS. Like, that seems to be where the story is going. I do not get any antagonistic vibes from this child, and the fact that the trailer is heavily based upon the kid's point of view, where we see the stuffed animals in the opening. That's like where the opening starts, I believe. The sound of opening is sympathetic and sad. It's an emotional roller coaster, what we're supposed to go through this season. So there's a lot of potential for it to be a tearjerker and for us to see what traumatic events has happened to this kid to get them to this point. I gotta say, I really missed the whole jumping into photos thing that Lu Guan and Cheng Xiaoshi usually do. Just Lu Guan directing and giving pointers to Cheng Xiaoshi. I live for any intense drama that happens because Cheng Xiaoshi is following his heart, his gut, or is just plain nosy. Like, I really enjoy the mess when they're in photos. Like, I love it when it becomes dramatic, when things go wrong. I know that other people that watch the show might feel the exact opposite as me. Like, they might get anxious or mad when he does stuff off the script, but I truly love it. Like, that's the peak of the show for me, because otherwise the show would be incredibly boring if he just followed Lu Guan's rules every single time. And also, I love the contrast between our leads and how one is more empathetic because of him inhabiting the body, and then the other is a bit more distant. He gives the more logical perspective most of the time, but I do think after everything that's happened in season 1 that Lu Guan might be more understanding of Cheng Xiaoshi's perspective and might be leaning to being more empathetic in the recent episodes. So I do love their differences in how they handle things, and it is what makes this show absolutely amazing. I don't really have much else to say. I do really hope, I'm crossing my fingers for the transgender representation as an ally. I just really want that to happen for the LGBTQ plus community. I just think it'd be a great representation if they were characterized in a thoughtful and sympathetic way. I'm hoping that they are not going to be reduced to any terrible stereotypes in the season if they do turn out to be trans. It could just be a fake out. I think it is a possibility they're trying to be mysterious, as I said before, and to be like, oh, we're just being mysterious just to do like a big reveal. I'm hoping that's not the case, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I am on the edge of my seat for the next episodes, and let me know your thoughts and predictions that you have for this season. Do you have any theories similar to mine? Are your theories completely different than mine? Tell me in the comments below. I would love to hear all your theories, and to anyone who has not watched this season yet, I would suggest staying out of the comments in case people put in spoilers and are discussing their own theories in the comments. And other than that, I have nothing else to say. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!